Now I want to introduce our presenters. We have Jorn Jenkins, a family law attorney and founder of Open Palm in Tampa. Jorn is an author of 9 books that you will want to check out for sure. She has become an expert at marketing her collaborative practice, and now, fortunately for all of us, she shares her marketing strategies with professionals to promote their services. Jorn is a member of Next Generation Practice Group in Tampa. We also have Conti Moore, who is a family law attorney and founder of Conti Moore Law in Orlando. Her firm is known for its credo, stress less, choose more. Conti has been recognized by the National Bar Association and Impact as one of the nation's best advocates 40 lawyer under 40, and was presented with the coveted Excellence in Service Award. She was recently quoted in the New York Times in an article about child custody for those on the coronavirus front lines. So you'll want to check that out as well. We can send a link to you. Very happy to have both of these presenters here today. Thank you so much. And now, Jorn, the mic is off to you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm going to jump right here because Conti and I have a ton of material. This was originally a 3-hour presentation, so we're going to try and squeeze as much of it as we can into our 1 hour together. And I may run over. If I do, we will make the video available so that if you have to leave, you can watch the last 15 minutes, whatever it is. I just think this stuff is so important to those of us who are focused on marketing collaborative practice. And I guess one of the first questions we have to ask is, why is marketing your collaborative practice important? I think anyone who has decided, and there are 47 of you, who has decided to attend this particular presentation understands that marketing is what you have to do to get the word out. It's not so much about you and your practice, although that's a side benefit. It's all about educating the population about this wonderful alternative to litigation. Now, Conti is still doing a lot of litigation. In fact, I don't think, Conti, have you had your first collaborative intro training?
No, not yet. Actually, I'm signing up for a Zoom one here next month.
Wow.
So
okay.
we'll do a Zoom training and get trained.
So we're very excited to have presenters come and become familiar with our passion here in the room, because they end up getting trained as well. And then we have another collaborative professional that we can team up with. So my theory about marketing is I have a marketing strategy. It's called the 5 Ps. It's pitch, publish, present, profile, and partner. And many of you already know about all of that. Pitch, publish, present, profile, and partner. They each build on the first one, pitch. And so then the next question here for us today is, where does media fit in there? Well, media is a type of pitch. Social media is a pitch. Press media is a pitch. So the first thing that we need to consider is how to craft your media pitch. Now, hopefully everyone in this room has already recognized and articulated their own professional mission. Mine is to change the way the world gets divorced. We all heard what Conti's is. What is yours? So think about that. If you don't know what your professional mission is, you need to get that done before you do anything else, because it will permeate everything that you do. You need to craft it, make it pithy and catchy, and it will permeate all of your press pitches, all of your media pitches. So you should have your quick pitch already done. That's going to be your 30-second pitch. Mine is, I help people divorce each other without destroying their families. And it makes people ask me questions, and that launches me into my social pitch, which is all about the problems with divorce in the courtroom as opposed to the solutions that courtless divorce offers. And that's your social pitch. Now, your media pitch, we'll get down to this a little bit later. It's different from that. It builds on that. So your media pitch is different from your social pitch in the sense that it's all about your would-be interviewer. Who are we talking to? Who is going to be doing the interviewing? What's his persona? What's his style? And I say his, but I mean his and hers. Who knows? What's his background? What's his platform? To those elements of who he is in order to get him to go, oh, I want to talk to this person. I think I should interview this person. This person is someone I want to talk to, and it's someone that I want to talk to on my show. So it's all about the mission. It's all about igniting your own imagination and creativity. and putting your spin on what this guy wants to hear. It's not all one and done. Each media pitch is different. And note that if your passion permeates everything you do, every conversation you have will return to collaborative practice. It's just the way it happens. I did a Skype interview last night on radio. It's up on YouTube already. The pitch was all about this case that got ruled on in South Florida. We've all heard about it now. It's the ER doctor whose 50-50 timesharing was yanked by the judge because she's an ER doctor, and he, the former husband asked him to give him 100% of the timesharing, and the judge did that. Well, of course, I sent out a media pitch. I sent out a press pitch, and I said, who wants to talk about this? Because I can talk about this. I'm the expert, which gets me to, by the way, we are all experts. If you don't know that you're the expert, you're wrong. You are an expert. If there are 1,000 people sitting in a stadium, which of you is the expert on collaborative divorce? It's you. So you have to know that in your venue, whether it's just your neighborhood, if it's your school system, if it's your city, if it's your county, you are the expert. You start small and you expand into the room. So, okay, now we're talking about topics in the news, for example. Oh, and by the way, so I think my point was, if you watch my YouTube interview, it's a half-hour long. And of course, within 10 minutes, I'm talking about collaborative divorce. Everything that I talk about ends up morphing over into collaborative divorce. So what do you look for? What are you going to talk about? What are your press pitches going to be about? Number one, look in the news. What is in the news that you can put a collaborative spin on? Take a look at, for example, the romantic prenup agreements. Okay, so now I'm going to turn you to, and we're going to start looking at the handouts. So many of you are aware of a gal in New Rochelle, New York, strangely where I grew up. It's kind of weird. She's probably the only person in New Rochelle I know. Her name is Catherine Miller, and I get emails from her. And I also get sample materials from her, just part of her newsletter. So she did this. I think it could easily be a press pitch. It's not technically, but she did a thing about how a prenup maybe can help your marriage rather than harm it. So I don't think that divorce lawyers have to talk about divorce every day. I think we can talk about marriage as well. Let's face it, we are the experts on how to save a marriage because we know what breaks them up. So this gal is capitalizing on that. She's done the romantic prenup agreement. And I hope you can see me scrolling through this. I think you can. So here is more. She did a video to go along with it. It's not a long video. It's fun to watch. And she talks about how a customized prenup can be designed to strengthen your relationship and inoculate it rather than hoping it would go straight to divorce. You know, so many people are afraid of prenups because they don't want to talk about divorce at the beginning of their relationship. That would be horrible. So that's one example of putting your collaborative spin on something that's in the news. Here's one that I
Lauren,
did.
can I jump in?
Please.
Real quick. Another, to talk about, putting your spin on it, when the courts closed down, what I did is I reached out to my media contacts and said, hey, the courts have shut down. The Ninth Judicial Circuit, and they issued an emergency order with some guidance. Do you need me to come talk about it? And so that was something that was really relevant. And that's what got me on, I think, the first week or so after the courts closed with different media outlets to talk about how do you navigate during the pandemic if you have a court case.
This is a wonderful example. And by the way, folks, understand that Conti is going to have to interrupt me because otherwise I'm trying to do too much. And I've told her, please interrupt me. We've built her into the program, but she knows so much about different aspects of what I'm talking about. She is going to have to interrupt me. So it's not an interruption. And she raises an excellent point. This was another piece that was in the news, and Jennifer up in Connecticut and I talked about this a couple of days ago. They shut their courts down totally. That hasn't quite happened in Florida, as far as I know. It's certainly not in Hillsborough County. But she said, no, we can't even file emergency motions up here. They will not hear anything right now. And she capitalized on that, and I have not built it into the handout because I did the handout last week. She sent out a press pitch about she can talk about what to do if you don't have access to the courts. Guess what? You can collaborate, and that's the spin she put on it. So it was really fabulous. Great point, Conti. I did this 4-day work weeks. Now this is actually a press pitch, what you're looking at. This is a press release. It is not standard. I do recommend that when you start doing this kind of work, your press pitches should be 1 page long. Mine are not, because I have too much crap to put in them. I'm sorry. That's really the only thing to be able to say. My press pitch is too long, but it is garnering me attention. So I'm going with it. It follows the right format. It's too much because I've got a lot more about me in it than I probably would recommend that you do. I've got stuff about my books and my articles, and Wasser's review of my book. Laura Wasser, her initials are LAW. She's the attorney to the stars in Hollywood. And she did a review of one of my books, so that her review is in there. It catches media's attention. If you have something like that, you need to capitalize on it. If you don't, you need to get it, and you can, and I can help you do that. So this is a typical press pitch, 4-day work weeks. Now, why am I talking about 4-day work weeks? They were in the news. How can I turn that to my advantage? My advantage being to push the collaborative concept. How can a shorter work week, look at it's sort of near the top, but the 3 bullets. How can a shorter work week help balance work and family? Could a shorter schedule help you live longer? How can a shorter work week lead to a happier marriage? So that's what we talked about. I must have done 5 radio interviews, and I did 1 TV interview, which at some point we'll send you the link to that. That was in Louisiana. I did it by Skype. And they've had me back since then, because I have now become their go-to person for divorce stuff. Not collaborative necessarily, although we end up talking about collaborative every time, but divorce stuff. So you might want to talk about, once you've looked at what's in the news, you might want to talk about common collaborative issues. What might be of interest as far as what's happening in your cases? Do you have any interesting issues that have come up that you know that will come up again and again and again? Local issues. So I interviewed on TV in Sarasota, and they wanted to talk about grandparent rights, non-existent grandparent rights. We talked about grandparent rights briefly. Then we spent most of the time talking about collaborative divorce and collaborative life planning. Collaborative life planning is something that I've created to try and help marriages stay together. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's a collaborative team. We sit down, we work on the issues, and the folks stay married. We create a post-nup agreement. We ended up talking about that. And so a week later, I got back in touch with Bill Logan, and I said, you know what? You wanted to talk about grandparent rights, and we didn't really do that. Do you want to try again? He had me down the next week. So I've got 2 videos. They are having me come back down again because I'm now their go-to person on divorce issues, collaborative issues, anything related. They're going to call me and have me either come down in person or do an interview by Skype. What else? Let's look at celebrities. I have my Google search set to finding me celebrity divorces. Every day I get an email from Google, what's in the news? Half the time it's Laura Wasser, which is how I knew to ask for a testimonial from her. But you can always look at these celebrity divorces and maybe do a press pitch on how could this have been done better? What would this have looked like in a collaborative matter? How would we have handled this in collaboration? Or, look at what's the hot issue and tell them you're the guy who can talk about cheating in divorce, who can talk about child care during a divorce process, who can talk about time sharing ultimately or temporarily, or adoption, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, adoption issues. So you are the divorce expert. Ultimately, you'll end up talking about collaborative practice if you can just get in front of the camera or get on the microphone.
Doran, we have a question.
Go.
Yeah, from Randy. How does a professional get a press release to the right person?
She's jumping down. She always does this to me, jumping down to the end. So go to Fiverr, Five, with 2 R's at the end, fiverr.com. That is one website. There are others. For a very small amount of money, you can easily find someone who will send out your press releases to 400 outlets, 800 outlets, 1,200 outlets. Pay accordingly. $5 for 400 outlets, $10 for, it's in that realm. And that's generally how I start. Once
you get contacts, then you get contacts and you keep them, and then you send them out yourself.
Right. So I think Bob Freed is probably in the room with us today, Robert Freed up in Connecticut. Robert emailed me a couple of days ago and he said, here's my big takeaway from your marketing webinar. And he shared that with me. And in sharing it with me, he also shared that his wife has connections with Oprah, well-known media personalities. And I said to him, have you been on Oprah's show? Can you get me on Oprah's show? And I sent him a press pitch, because you should be open to making the connections wherever they show up. I will obviously kill him if he steals my idea for a press pitch, but not really. He has these connections. I don't know if he's made use of them yet. I don't know if he can make use of them. I don't know if his wife is open to introducing him to Oprah, but maybe she's open to introducing me. So it's not, but I know this sounds like it's all about me, and it really does sound like it's all about me, but it's not. It's all about helping your fellow professionals and making those contacts and just making those connections. One day, Oprah will call me and ask me. I got a call from Montel Williams. Yeah, Montel Williams called me. I was a little nervous about appearing on his show. So anyway, we're talking about topics that might prove press pitch worthy. Controversy. How can my services solve this problem? So the problem of getting someone to sign a prenup in the first place. How can we solve that problem? By explaining Gail King. Yes, Gail King. How can collaborative solve the prenup problem? Well, that I think everyone in the room will know. Of course, prenups are a heck of a lot easier to deal with when you're collaborating than when you're trying to get someone to sign something that they see as threatening of their romantic relationship that they're just getting started in a marriage with. So obviously my services can solve that problem fairly easily. So do a press pitch about how you can solve the prenup problem. Prenups have become a trend. They definitely are a trend. Do a press release about how prenups are a trend, and you can talk about that. And then you talk about how your collaborative services can solve the predominant problem in getting someone to sign a prenup. Kristen, there's a question.
Yes, you have a question from Elizabeth. Do you think it is better to do a press pitch from one collaborative professional or a larger collaborative group? Will it give more credibility for a group of collaborative professionals to pitch this process together?
Ooh, I'm curious what Conti thinks of that question. That's a great question.
I mean, I don't know if it depends on what your goal is. If you're trying to get more cases yourself, I think that you would do that as a professional, as an attorney. But as a group, I think they can also take on certain topics as well to benefit the group. But I think ultimately you're trying to get more business, yourself. So I think as an attorney, I'd want the press pitch for myself.
So I cannot disagree with Conti. We are innately competitive. However, I must share that I fight that competitive feeling. You can tell from the email that I sent to Bob Freed. I fight that competitiveness because we're all in this together. And collaboration, if you think about it, it's the antithesis of competition. Collaboration is, and I say this all the time. I said this earlier this week in another webinar. If I bring in a collaborative case, you're probably going to get a case from me because I have to bring in another collaborative professional to do that case with me. So we're referring to each other much more than outside lawyers refer to us when push comes to shove. Was that another question, Kristen?
No, that was just an update.
Okay, good.
That
Okay, good.
That's
So, Conti is not wrong. There's no question that, depending on your purpose in doing the press release, coming from the practice group might have more power. But then again, the interesting thing is, I think when we get down to the logistics of putting a press release together, you'll see that the credibility element, although the group brings its group's credibility, the individual's credibility element is going to be a lot stronger in the end, I think. So let's look at that when we get down there. Another topic, look at trends in workloads, trends in coronavirus, trends in divorces, trends around you, trends in the economy, trends in shopping. And then the question is, how might this be impacting marriages? How might this be impacting divorces? Trends in marriages, right? Less people are getting married. Do a press pitch about why are less people getting married? I can tell you, my answer is, I've got these answers because I've been doing this for so long. 50% of first marriages end in divorce, 67% of second marriages end in divorce, 74% of third marriages end in divorce. Why? Because when people go to court, they don't learn anything. They just learn how to get divorced in court. If they collaborate, they're far more likely to have a successful second marriage. That's my take on that. So be forewarned, anything that you find that's worthy of doing a press release about, you're going to end up talking about your collaborative practice. Look at case studies. Look at predictions about marriage, predictions about divorce, predictions about adoption, predictions about prenups. Look at that and think about whether you can turn one of those into a press pitch. Develop an outline interview for each media pitch. So your media pitches, each media pitch is going to be different. You should create an outline interview. You should create your original overall professional interview outline early on. Create your overall professional interview outline early on. It's going to be a general outline for radio, podcast, television. Conti, did I leave anything out? Radio, podcast, television.
No, those are the main ones.
Okay. And there's a handout in your materials of my overall professional interview outline. And what I did, not everybody wants to do it this way, but what I did was I did the questions and the answers. And I'll tell you why. It's long, it's 5 pages long. They can read it. You're going to send this, once you nail a show, you're going to send this interview outline to the host of the show. It gives them the material. It familiarizes them with everything about who you are. They may not use it, but I will share with you that they often do. They pick what they like. They pick what appeals to them. So you want to give them plenty of material, and you'll see what that looks like for me. I give them the answers as well, so they know what to expect me to say.
If I can jump in, those are gems that you just dropped. So I appreciate that. I just did a Facebook Live interview with Stuart Moore from West News, and he was asking me questions, but it would have been helpful to give him like an outline, like you said, and to give him some answers to kind of help him understand more of the process. That would have been really helpful in that interview.
So you've crafted your overall professional interview outline. Now what I'd like you to do, and by the way, these are your calls to action. If I don't remember to give them all to you at the end of the day, you should be writing them down. You should create your overall professional interview outline. That's a piece of homework. It's raining outside here in Tampa. Today's a great day if you're stuck in Tampa with the weather. You can do that today. And then the next thing that you want to consider doing, and this one is going to be interview specific, craft a separate outline each time you book a show. So if the show is going to be on the 4-day work week, then the interview outline may morph a little bit. If the show is going to be on prenups, again, it may morph a little bit. And what I really like to do, and this, Conti, may be of use to you as well, I like to create bullets, especially if I'm going to be on TV. So create some bullets, and I can share that with you right now. Create bullets because they will help the interviewer this one it was not specifically prenups. So I was going to do four separate segments for Great Day, Louisiana. And we were doing one on the romantic prenup, one on married millennials and separate bank accounts. See, there's a trend. Married millennials and their separate bank accounts. One on postnups and one on my divorce in a day, which we don't need to talk about right now, but divorce in a day concept. And so these were the bullets, because when you're doing a TV interview, what they'll do is they'll create what are called lower thirds. So if you look at your screens, you see your names at the bottom of the screen. That's not technically a lower third. In theory, it would be up a little bit and a separate bar. They do that in TV shows, TV news shows. So they would do these bullets as lower thirds under your face so that the viewer knows exactly what you're talking about in that moment. And it just makes the show more interesting. It makes it easier to follow. It's kind of, they're bullets. That's exactly what they are. And they help
Jordan,
yeah.
I have a question. So when you're doing interviews,
you're not supposed to ask me questions. You're supposed to help me answer them.
Yeah, but you're the pro. So when you do it, what I found helpful recently was trying to also create some sound bites, so that, because when you're doing a news interview, you're really on for 20, 30 seconds, depending on the segment. And so I found it helpful to create some sound bites, things that I know they would include in the actual interview or in the actual viewing or the broadcast. Yep. Do you do that as well? Do you have any other tips
it's funny you say that, because you have taken me back to the beginning of this presentation, which is your passion permeates everything you do. So when I say 50% of first marriages, blah, 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 I say that every time. I say that whenever it's pertinent. And it comes out of my mouth a lot. That's one of my sound bites. So you are absolutely right. I never thought of it that way. And that's why I was writing while you were talking, because they are sound bites. And what I'm thinking is maybe what I'm going to do is write 10 or 12 of them down, because there are at least 10 or 12 sound bites that come out of my mouth regularly. There are quotes that come out of my mouth regularly. So I had a husband come out of his collaborative divorce, and his testimonial, and he was not my client, he was the other spouse. He said, "I came out of my divorce a better person." Oh my God, what kind of soundbite is that? You are all welcome to use it. That is what a collaborative client will tell you when he gets his divorce. And that's a wonderful soundbite. It's also a quote, right? His wife, by the way, came out of her divorce, and her quote was, "I learned to listen to my husband again. It just sounds different when someone else says the same thing he said," which is huge. For us collaboratives, we know that's something they learned when they got divorced with us. They didn't learn anything if they went to court, but with us, they learned how to listen to each other. So those are huge sound bites, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about compiling your list of targets, because that's really, it's not that hard to do. Your list won't be that big initially. You'll accumulate more people for your target list later on. But first, think, what is media? Media is any means of mass communication. So it's print media, it's publishing, it's news media, it's photography, it's cinema, it's broadcasting, it's advertising. Have I forgotten anything? Broadcast is radio and television and podcast. I think I've covered.
Yeah, you covered them.
Okay. So now with that in mind, what are your free outlets? Well, who's hungry for content? Who's looking for content? Strangely, just about everybody is. Think about publishing and print. What are we talking about there? We're talking about newspapers. We're talking about magazines. We're talking about journals. Who do you know who works for a newspaper, who works for a magazine, who works for a journal?
And really, just to add to that, with the coronavirus going on and how to navigate the legal system now, and I mean, wherever you live, there's local newspapers, there's different organizations that are putting out content. I did one for the Orlando Times, which is a local, really small newspaper here that's only in print. So there's people within your community who are dying for knowledge and dying for some sort of guidance that we can all talk about, something to help them out during this time. That's something besides the death toll. Right? So people want to hear something else. So this is a time to really kind of get out there and talk about those things.
Well said. Well said. And remember, you're focusing on the news person who's hungry for content, and he's focusing on the population who's hungry for content. So, it's like hearsay. You've got to make sure that you put the spin on it that the news person wants to hear. Why is this going to help him? Why is it going to help him do his job better, right? So think about who you know in newspapers, magazines, journals, and any other news print publication, and then special considerations. What are your choices? Do you want to be published or do you want to be interviewed? Big difference there. And you'll see in the materials, I've included pieces where I've been interviewed for, I think, Good Housekeeping and Redbook Magazine, I think, and also Martha Stewart's magazine. So you may just want to be interviewed. You may actually want to get your own piece published. Those are two different ideas, and they're both equally valid. Let's talk about broadcast and video. So you've got television. Now, remember, we're putting together a list of targets. So who do you know who works in broadcast, who works in video, who works in television, who works in YouTube, who podcasts? We all know people who are doing podcasts. Have you made a list of those people that you know that you can reach out to and do a show with them? They're always looking for content. And then how do you put the spin on your passion that satisfies their needs, their mission, their purpose, right? Same thing for radio. And then special considerations. Can you copy? Can you link to where it gets published? Can you republish? Can you repurpose? I'm all about repurposing. Please don't rework the wheel every time reinvent the wheel every time you turn around. If you blog something, also do a video on the same thing, then do a press release on the same thing. Repurpose everything.
With your search engine optimization as well.
Absolutely.
If you're into SEO.
That's huge, Conti. That's a huge point. Every time you get published somewhere, you're helping your own SEO. And then when you link to it, you're helping your own SEO again. It's like geometrically double, quintupled, whatever it is. And then you've got your internet and your online media. You've got the traditional adaptations of what we already know: newspapers, magazines, e-zines, radio, podcasts. You've got YouTube, you've got websites, you've got your own website, you've got other people's websites. Do you want to have your information as a guest blog? I've got blogs on Laura Wasser's It's Over Easy website. What else? Do you have, are there special considerations? Do you want to get your own YouTube channel? Yes, I've got two, one for my legal practice, Open Palm Law, and one for my marketing side of my business, jornjenkins.com. So think about that, different YouTube channels. And then which social media? Conti, can you talk to us about social media?
So social media people are on social media right now all the time. People aren't working, especially in Orange or Osceola counties. People are on there. I actually stopped my pay-per-click ads and moved everything over to social media, and is doing really well. With social media, you can post videos on social media. When the pandemic first shut down the courthouses and we decided to work from home, I literally purchased a tripod on Amazon for $30. Put my iPhone in there. I'm using it right now. It has a little halo light, and I started recording videos about child support, what to do if you can't pay your child support, child custody issues, make sure you update your address with the court if you're on child support in case they can't locate you to send you a notification about enforcement. So, just little quick 30-second, 1-minute videos that you can post on your Facebook page. You can post on Instagram. You could also share them in different Facebook groups. I had one, the child support video, I think I got 100+ shares on that video, and it gets people to come back to your Facebook page, right? So if you share it from your Facebook page and then other people share it, they come back to your other page and look at your other content. You really don't have to pay a lot of money right now for marketing online. If you're using your social media, your Facebook and Instagram, and also YouTube. So any video that I created with my phone for $30 with my tripod, I put it on YouTube as well. So really right now is social media is a good way to get your message out there. And like for me, I didn't know a lot about collaborative. Elaine took me out to lunch and we talked about it and I got excited about it, and now I'm going to get trained. But this is the time to really educate people who don't have anything else to do right now about collaborative law and how it works. So, I mean, put out videos, keep sharing them, and you'll be surprised at the response that you get from people learning about this new concept.
So I started doing what Conti's talking about years ago, and I recently had a young man and his partner contact me. They've created a new app. Can't remember the name of it. I'll share it with you if you ask me by email. And it's intended to help people get divorced without hiring lawyers, which I'm okay with, because the more people who get divorced courtlessly, the better. And so he wanted to take my videos teaching people about what divorce should and could look like instead of courtroom divorce, and use them to use them on his app, on his website. We are talking about that, and that I will probably end up doing that because our missions are not too different one from the other. And if his clients end up needing a lawyer in Florida, guess who will be their first choice? Oh, and by the way, what do we have to thank this virus quarantine for? I probably can represent someone anywhere in Florida at this point.
Yep. Virtually.
Would I have been comfortable? Yeah, Conti. Would I have been comfortable with that 3 months ago? I probably would have referred them to you over in Boca, but now I'm not, maybe what I'll do is if they want to do a collaborative divorce, I'll refer the spouse to you in Boca, because we're doing these things collaboratively now. We have been nimble and flexible, and we have transitioned. So take advantage of the new things that you've learned. In the meantime, compile your list of media outlet targets. So if you start it now, and you need to start that now, that's my call to action to you. Sit down tonight with your contact list and think about not just what media outlets they work for, but the jobs. The jobs are producer, newscaster, journalist, talk show host, right? TV host, interpreter, translator. They work for media. Why not? Film or video editor, technical writer, public relations. Don't discard people who are in advertising for the TV station because they're in advertising. Mm-hmm. I pitched someone recently. I pitched someone who reached out to me to buy TV ads. I don't do TV ads. I don't need to do, quite frankly, I don't need to do TV ads. But I pitched her back with, I took one of my press releases, I don't remember which one, and I said, this is a really hot topic right now. I wonder if someone in your newsroom would be interested. She sent it to her newsroom, and they've been in touch with me. So don't, seize the day. The opportunities will start falling in your lap. You just need to be out there and putting your name out there in a lot of different ways, like Conti said. So we've got technical writers, we've got public relations specialists, content strategists, social media specialists, bloggers, sound engineers, art directors. There are just numbers of people out there that you may know that you're not thinking, oh yeah, I could reach someone like that. And then we talk about media interviews. So let me just point you to some more of the materials. There's a lot of stuff in the materials, and I want to show you the blog that I wrote on marketing by interview. So this is a fairly incisive piece about how to do your marketing while you're doing an interview and how to procure a television interview. It's pretty directional. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to reach out. People will tell you I love talking about this stuff. So what is a media interview? And then which media interview is right for you, for your personality, for your collaborative practice. I don't know you. So, are you an MHP? Are you a financial professional? Are you a lawyer? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Some of this stuff may appeal to you and then other stuff may not. You may be perfectly comfortable doing a radio interview, but not so comfortable doing a TV interview.
What about live interviews versus when they just can record you, you can repeat it? For me, I talk really fast, so I have found that I don't really like live interviews as much as ones where I can say, let's redo that. Let me say that again. But I've learned that in the past couple of weeks about, live, a 5-minute live interview versus a 20-minute one. It's
right.
What are your preferences?
Right. The longer the interview, the more chances you will have to talk, to tell stories, which are fabulous. Telling stories is fabulous marketing because stories connect us. We hear ourselves in the stories and they appeal to us. We relate to people through stories. So you have more time to tell stories, but you also have more time to connect up the dots for the interviewer. So if it's a really short interview, they are on what they want to talk about and you'll have less opportunity. But it's okay because you're getting your name out there. You are the expert. Once you're the personality that they're calling, they will call you again. So Conti's absolutely right about that. You want to do, and then the questions are, there are newspaper and radio phone interviews. That's how I did the Good Housekeeping article that is in here. This was a piece that was done that Lindsay Teagar called me. I had no idea that she was from Good Housekeeping, which is dumb of me. Let there be no doubt, I should have done my homework. I did not, but she got this published for me in Good Housekeeping, and I think it was also published somewhere else. Oh, this is the embarrassing one. So this one is, it actually is all about collaborative, which was amazing. And it was published in CNBC. So it was published in a couple of places. This was by a woman named Constance Gustke, who was shocked that I didn't know who she was. So illustrates my point really admirably. Know who your interviewer is. Everything that I'm teaching here, I've learned through my mistakes. So learn from my mistakes and don't take 7 years to learn all this stuff like I did. You can learn it in less than a year and you can put it to your advantage. Constance Gustke writes for the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. She is a well-known, highly respected writer. And thank God I rescued that interview. We actually did two sessions. I'm not sure how, because I was very apologetic for not doing my homework. But apparently I do a better interview than I do my homework. So I kept her on the phone and she called me back again. So we spent a total of 2 hours doing the interview, which was good for me. There's my blog on press releases and multi-purposing. So that's in your materials. And you can take a look at that. Someone asked where the materials are, and I thought they had gone out before this, but that's fine. You'll get them afterwards. If someone's already answered you, good, but we'll make sure one way or another you all get the materials. So back to media interviews, you've got your newspaper, radio. They may interview by phone. Got your local media. So I did an ABC roundtable video I actually went in person down in Sarasota. If you're going in person, be aware that you need to dress the role. So dress professionally. I'm sure I don't have to tell people this. Dress professionally. I always wear my brand colors. Always, always, always. Mm. I've created my brand. It's critical. People know what to look for. They can find me in a room now because of my brand colors. My business cards reflect it. My artwork reflects it. It's almost embarrassing, not quite. And then you've got the visiting media interview. So I was headed to Louisiana for a conference. We were doing those 4 interviews in person because I was going to be there anyway. I'd already done a couple of Skype interviews. You can find those on my YouTube channel, on my website. The conference got canceled. So now we've rescheduled those 4 interviews by Skype. And it's actually helpful probably for you to look at those videos so you get an idea of what you can do. I was not thrilled with the Skype channel. I like Zoom a lot more, and I don't understand. Say it again.
I said Zoom is great. You can also with Zoom go live on Facebook, FYI.
Thank you
At the
for,
same time.
yes, thank you for adding that. That's a critical component. Live Facebook ads. My sister's doing those. I haven't started doing those yet. I can't believe my sister beat me to it. So let's see, we actually are making it through this material, which is shocking to me. So create your press release. You've got the instructions for how to do that, and you've got sample press releases in your materials. I think I've included 4 or 5. Again, remember, you want a one-pager to start with. Unless you're at least 60 years old and have a lot of credibility that will snag the media's attention. So credibility in the form of books always gets media's attention. Best-selling author, they love that, they eat it up. Being on other news shows, if the news shows are really high profile, like Oprah, that would snag media's attention. Give some thought to where your credibility is and what pieces of it you think you need to include. And then, by the way, if you're not getting much success with your first few press releases, redo them. Do them a different way, different credibility. Try it again. Send me a copy and ask me what's wrong with it. And hopefully I'll figure that out, or I'll help you with that.
The main thing is just get out there. Don't be afraid to get out there. Don't turn down an opportunity to talk. Talk to everyone. Another thing you can do are free webinars. So what I'm doing right now, just to get my name out there to different churches and community organizations, I'm offering a free webinar on how to navigate custody issues during a pandemic, tips on how to handle child support during the pandemic if you can't afford to pay child support. And so I'm creating these free webinars, which I can do from my office at my home, and I'm getting out there. I don't care if one person shows up or 100 show up. It's the fact that I'm out there and people are seeing the name of my firm and seeing what I do. So, this is the time where people have time to just watch webinars and be on Facebook and Instagram. So take advantage of that and get your message out there about your firm. Another thing that I've learned recently when doing interviews is that they ask you, do you have anything else you want to say? You always have something to say. Always have something else to give them, because usually the information that you want to get out is better than the questions they're asking you, right?
That's where the sound bites will come in, because if you got your sound bites and they say that they asked that question, you can just pop in a sound bite and then you've got another story to tell or another whole segment that you can talk about.
Right. So when you leave this webinar today, get on Facebook, post something. You can go live on Facebook and talk about topics going on. Do something today to start getting your message out there about what you do and how you can help people solve their problems.
Take a look at the invitation you got to this webinar, because Conti's so right about that. I was asked to do a webinar on collaborative divorce by one of the local museums. I was supposed to be there in person. They converted it to a webinar. I got a client out of it already. That was last week. And so look at the release, I don't know what else to call it, that publicizes your webinar speaking event, and make sure, because you may get, as Conti said, you may get one person to show up, but if it went out to 100 people and they couldn't come, and by the way, you may want to let people know that the video will be available. If that's true, you can make it available. You can download it. You can clean it up a little bit, maybe take out, in my case, all the ums and uhs. And once it's cleaned up, you can send that out for people to watch who couldn't come or who couldn't stay the entire time. But the release, that's going out to, and by the way, you can repurpose that. So, post it on your website. Why not? Or do a blog about you did this event and how insightful it was, how much you learned by doing your own event. You can repurpose everything. And I truly, truly, truly believe in that. So one of the handouts I gave you was my Harrow handout. So I put in the Harrow handout because you're all going to go, why? Harrow is help a reporter out. That's how Constance Gusky found me. I reached out to Harrow. I signed up. I haven't used Harrow in a year now because I haven't needed to. But 3 times a day, you'll get a list of the folks who are looking for help writing articles, doing newscasts, Not so much doing newscasts, but definitely a lot writing articles. And some of them are actually looking for free advice, and you can't tell that from the request for help. And very few of them will appeal to you. Maybe one a week. If one a week appeals to you, answer it right away. I mean, right away. You have to be on it. You'll get one at breakfast, you'll get a list at lunch, you'll get a list at dinner. Those can be very helpful because there are legitimate, serious reporters using that resource to find the experts. And let me leave you with number one, do what Conti said. Number two, craft your first press release. Do it. Just do it so you have something to work from moving forward now when you have less time. But spend a little time today doing that. Spend a little time today going through your contact lists and making lists of targets, lists of people who work in any form of media whatsoever. And then your ongoing task will be to call those people and schedule 15 minutes on Zoom to chit chat about what you can offer them. And then finally, sign up for HARO because it's worth it. It's worth the effort. You'll get some interesting information that way. Did we have any other questions, Kristen, along the way that we didn't cover?
We had one in the Q&A. It was a comment from Teresa. We were talking about the introductory trainings via Zoom, and she just wanted us to mention, that we're monitoring the approval with IACP and FACP, and we will keep everyone posted. I don't know, Jordan, if you have more information to.
Yeah, that's true. Conti, you mentioned that you were going to go to a training virtually. Those trainings haven't been approved yet by IACP. They are working on that as we speak. I think did I introduce you to Adam Cordover, Conti?
No.
Okay, I will do that. Adam is on the IACP committee that is considering how to make a virtual training approvable. And they're on it, and they're going to have to get something done really soon because we all want that information, right? And Cheryl wants us to show a list of attendees. I'm sure that we can get that to you, Cheryl. That's a great idea because we're all teammates, right? And everyone in this room is definitely on my team as far as I'm concerned. I want you to help me help you create your 2020 marketing plan. I want to know the questions that you still have. I want to know what tips you think that I can help you cover. You can reach me at joran@joranjenkins.com. You can visit my website, www.joranjenkins.com. I also offer collaborative coaching. I offer weekly masterminds. I offer webinars. I offer toolkits. I also have a week-by-week, year-long marketing plan that will help you personalize your own marketing program for the year 2020. It will help you change the way the world gets divorced in your venue, wherever that is. Or you can buy my book, Changing the Way the World Gets Divorced. The subtitle is Marketing Your Collaborative Practice at joranjenkins.com. Thank you so much.